Thank you. Okay, good afternoon. Thank you for coming back from the coffee break. I hope you're not too tired from the day. I promise I will be short and sweet, says the last famous word of an Italian. And I hope to inspire you, to give you something to think about and something to go home to work on, okay? So without further ado, I know it's been a long day, lots of talking, lots of learning, lots of laughing. Thank you and welcome back. Today we have learned a lot about what's going on now within the region, the trends. So my presentation today will be about the outlook of what's next. Big words. Everyone in the industry is talking about the future of travel. And in this keynote, my intent is to show you a little bit about what the future could look like if we all play our part. A future made of digital connection, digital mastery. What is a mastery? Is when you know, when you are knowledgeable, when you're a master of something. You're a master of brewery. And I'm a master of communication, or I aim to be. And human connection. We put together these two things and we pave our way into the future of travel by really positioning ourselves the right way. Why? Because if I'm not in the digital world, I can't be booked as a business, right? As a service. So my customer books me because it finds me online in this sea of sameness of digital products. Once it books my product or my service or my tour or my hotel, because it finds it online, comes, experience, lives through, but it's because of the human connection that he makes during the trip that he comes back. So I don't think that human connection is more important than digital mastery, or I don't even think that digital mastery is more important than human connection. They are equally important if they are well balanced. So let me just give you an overview of what we are going to talk about today. Outlook on tourism 2023. So no, I'm not talking about here in 20 years. We need to talk business. We need to talk what's going on now. What are we going to work on now for next year, for next season? We're going to talk about destinations and the situation around the travelers. Also, what's going on in their head? What do they want? The inevitable. What is the inevitable? What has happened to us over the last 2 years? How have we changed as travelers first and then as tourism operators? We're going to talk about digital literacy of the tourism industry. So how good you are in the digital sphere. How can the travelers find you today? And what makes you build that digital credibility, that trust? Even if that traveler that hasn't even traveled yet, it's just someone at home. It's your passive digital audience becomes your desired client, and then finds you online, believes in you, trusts your service, trusts your brand, and then becomes your client or your guest. Where does the human connection go in all this recipe? So when it comes to authentic experiences, what do we need to do to deliver? Authentic experience is probably one of the most greenwashed or overused terms these days in tourism. Everything needs to be authentic. And we as tourism operator, we look into what we offer to our clients and we think, well, I'm not lying. I am being authentic. So what does authentic really mean today for different people? Different people coming from different cultures, different backgrounds, different faiths. So we're going to put that in context. I've been working in the tourism and hospitality sphere for the past 20 years. I've lived in China, where I was based for nearly 7 years. I was an interpreter. I was translating Chinese, English, Italian, in tourism and hospitality. And you know how much gets lost in translation? When you translate from your own language to another language, something that really it's important to you might get translated in the wrong way and it loses the meaning. So we're going to talk about how important it is to be simple in communication. And for me, traveling has been always part of my life. I've started traveling when I was 17 years old. 25 years later, I'm still traveling, living out of my base in Italy and on a mobile base, experiencing van life, living out of a caravan, driving around Europe to experience a bit of a slow travel and to see what people are doing nowadays on the ground. It's important to know that before we become tourism operator, we are travelers ourselves. And unfortunately, sometimes we tend to separate these two things and we tend to forget how important it is to remain connected to the true nature of what makes us work in this industry. The outlook of 2023 might be better if there weren't some factors, so let's call them like that are influencing the real restart and recovery of the tourism industry. We're going to see what these factors are and how we can work around them, because we can't really solve them ourselves. We're more like affected by it. The tourism outlook of 2023. According to the latest data published by UNWTO, this year, 2022, saw a recovery of plus 60%. So we're on the good track. We're on the right track. People are traveling. People are trusting traveling again. They're less bothered by all the different travel restrictions and nuisance around moving from place A to place B. We are making it easier for them to travel again. And when they travel, they are willing, mind my words, they are willing to spend more in food, transportation, in experiences, if that choice, if that option proves to be sustainable. In fact, 74% of out of service, the use one of Expedia, published in the last quarter of 2022, show that 74% of the attendees of the surveys confirm that if they have a sustainable option, even if it costs more, they're willing to take it. So there is this willingness. And in a recent event that I attended in Spain, the question that was raised was, there is willingness to spend more on travel if the option is sustainable. But do they? Do they actually spend more? I was coming here on a flight from Amsterdam to Tampere with Air Baltic. Air Baltic website, I don't know if the Air Baltic lady is still here. No. Okay, now we're excited. But there is something on their website that it's called Green Fare, and they give you the option to spend a little bit more money and travel in a greener way. It doesn't explain how, it doesn't explain why, it just adds a cost to my ticket. Today we're going to talk about sustainability and sustainable choices that are shared with your clients from an added value point of view, not from the added cost. Because as long as we communicate the added cost of this type of choices, travelers are going to say no, because it costs more. But when you talk to their value point, when you win that trust through what matters to them, price is just a details. They will say yes to you even before knowing how much it is. So if I see this, and I see that most of travelers are willing to spend more on food, when it's more sustainable, on transportation, and on activities when they're more sustainable. As a tourism operator, I feel it's my duty to communicate if my product stands by these choices, if my product reflects this principle, these values that they are clearly telling me they are looking for. If we look at what has just happened in 2022 and we gained 60+% of recovery, this was the summer, and summer looked great. I was traveling, I saw people around, places were full, packed with people everywhere, and I traveled extensively across Italy, Montenegro, Albania, north of Greece, and Spain. The shoulder season, so to speak, was even busier than the peak season. So people are moving. How does the winter look? Winter looks like this for our dear travelers. People are scratching their head, worrying about their safety, their economy, their health, their future, the future of their kids. And when it comes to reassuring them on a really like a matter of life, like we're not talking, let's not forget that we work in an industry that it's, tourism and travel. For many, it's a luxury. It's not a necessity. This winter, people are going to worry about how are they going to pay for the gas bill and what's going on in the international ecosystem with politics and conflicts and how is that going to affect their safety. So these are really, really serious worries that are affecting the willingness to travel for the coming months of our potential clients. How do we help them? How do we ease them out of this discomfort, out of this worry? Because it's only when we help them that we reach out and we create that long-lasting relationship. Never forget, a client doesn't buy from you when he understands you. A client buys from you when he feels understood. So the more you know how the travelers will look like and will act like and what they will need in the coming months, the more you will be able to connect with them. And how do we do that? How do we help them towards what they want? We offer them what they are already sharing across surveys, data collection, across their social media behavior. We offer them what they need in terms of product. Let's come out of the shell of this is me. This is how we do things. This is my product. This is what I produce for you. Let's go into what do you need? How would you like to travel? Let me help you travel again by creating off-the-grid travel experiences. People are a bit fed up in being always constantly connected, that they take the opportunity to travel where places take them away from connectivity, off the grid. It's almost like we need to be digital masters, but we need to let our guests and clients go offline. So where is the balance there? The activities that they're seeking are activities that are authentic. So we offer them authentic experiences. How do we create authentic experiences? Big question mark, $1 million question. But we will see later how to not to create authentic experience. So let's put it that way. We also help them out of a sustainability overwhelming feeling. According to Expedia, 64% of the interviewed people share that they would like to be sustainable travelers, but they don't know how. They are so overwhelmed by what choices to go for, what to do. They don't know how to take even the very simple step of becoming a sustainable traveler, what hotel to book, how to go there, by plane, by train, by car, by van. So it's our job to ease them out of the sustainability overwhelm by making it easy for them. in the way we communicate, in the way we plan our products and our activities. And mostly, it's really about being simple. The simpler, the better. The simpler you are in your communication when it comes to communicating around sustainability, the better, because the less gets lost in translation. Imagine of your, majority of your clients and your visitors in Tampere, and 80% of them come from Finland. But what about the 20%? And what about the 20% that goes back home and talks about another 20% of how great the experience was in Tampere? Suddenly that 20% becomes 40%. And that 40% goes back and talks to another 40% of how great it was Tampere, come back and they become 80%. And in a few years' time, you will reverse your attendance, your visitors' breakdown here in Tampere, because you will attract more and more and more international clients. The technology and the approach, I would say the technology approach, needs to be an integral part of what you do to make sure that that 20% becomes 40%, that becomes 60%, becomes 80%, and so on and so forth. Because people are not going to find you on the yellow pages. People are going to find you online. And the more strategic your positioning, your presence, your discoverability is online, the higher the chances for you to be found. And to, obviously, to increase that passive audience and turn them into active ambassadors. Because let's be honest, if I come to such a special location like Tampere for the first time, and I'm completely, I fall in love for it, I go back, I'm not just a visitor of Tampere, I effectively become your ambassador. Because I go back home and I talk about you to other people. They don't know you, but they heard it from me. They believe me, and they are more likely to become your next visitor. Why? Because today, what we call the P2P, peer-to-peer, which is basically a fancy word for word of mouth, basically. But this is what is happening in the passive digital audience. People are communicating to each other what's cool, what works, what was great, what was real. And other people are believing what other people are saying online. So it's digital word of mouth or peer-to-peer. Why? Because people have grown tired of believing in institutions. They don't look up anymore. Before, people used to look up to the king or to the government or to their leaders. With all that is happening today in the modern world, we don't look up anymore as much as we used to. But we look left and right to see what are the others doing. We look for inspirations, we look for validation. Am I doing the right thing? Are you also doing the same thing? So this is what is the mechanism that is happening in the back of their traveler's head. We are going to talk about this in the phase and the planning phase of travel later on in the presentation. So, lots of worries for the months to come for travelers. 4 key pillars where you can work and help them out of their worries, to plan, to reach more, to offer more of what they are looking for, more of what they want. How does that traveler look like? I would love to hear from you, if we had more time, what exactly is that you notice some differences, right, in your current clients. Is your visitor of today different from the visitors of 2 years ago? How so? So go back home when you reach out again to your team, take a moment to brainstorm. How different is our client today? Where is that difference? I feel the 3C are very representative of what the travelers are today. They are cautious, they are concerned, and they are committed. Why they are cautious? Because inflation, expanding power, it's decreasing. Why they are concerned? Because of safety, because of the world or the climate change and all these big things that we see on TV and on the media. And they are committed more than ever First, we need to protect the Black Lives Matters. Then we need to protect the Asians. Then we need to protect the ladies. Then we need to protect the LGBTQ+. We are so committed in every possible belief and strength, helping each other. So if I know that the travelers of tomorrow are cautious, concerned, and committed, what can I do as an operator to help them overcome these stages and take that choice, and book that travel experience, come to Tampere, or when they are in Tampere, do that specific experience or so. It's all about helping them out of their, I would say misery, but okay, these are 3 words that are very strong. If the traveler is committed, concerned, and cautious, and we need to help them out of this situation, and we need to ease that discomfort, we can see by default that their choices, their preferences that are these are on booking.com latest survey, they are telling us that they need to travel to less crowded spaces. Why? Because they are concerned about being in the middle of too many people. They are telling us that they prefer short-haul trips because they are concerned about the money they are spending and their safety of their trip. They are telling us that they are very much looking how much they spend, so they do budget-savvy choices rather than splurging. And because they've been at home for so long and without traveling for so long, when they go out and travel, they want to do something shocking. They want to do something great, something unforgettable. So out of what they are already telling us through surveys and data that this is what they will be looking for in the near future. The inevitable is that factors that are outside our powers basically, will influence our work, will influence the success of our business, will influence the travel choices of our future and returning clients. Why? Because, yes, the inflation is there and it's affecting the results of how much money they spend. Everybody's concerned about what is going on in the current conflict, and complice of the power of the media that is constantly showing, end of the world type of scenes on TV and on the general social media. People are concerned about climate change. They don't really know what climate change is, but they just keep seeing wildfires, glaciers melting, floodings in many parts of the world, and they think that the world is ending or something is happening. So these are the factors that will affect the outcome of your strategies, and this is beyond your control. But how can you be in control? You can be in control by focusing on communicating on the added value of your service, of the service you provide, the product you create, as opposed to the added cost. The money question will always be there. How much? Because people are concerned. They don't have as much money as before, but they still want to travel. So how do you communicate the added value instead of the added cost? You talk directly to what it matters to them. You explore, you come out of this product-centered communication flow and put the person in the middle of that communication flow. What does that person want? How does that person talk? How does your client act on social media? What do they like? Put the person at the center of your strategy, not your product. Find a common ground, speak to the value and what matters to your consumers rather than your product. Because as long as you talk about your product, the reaction will be, so what? So what? Go back home and say, hey, we have the best gin in Finland. So what? Oh, we have a fantastic line of products in the brewery. So what? Okay, what is it to me? No, he talks about through values. He talks about the community, the spirit, the friendship, that feeling that really feel like, oh, this is me with my friends. This is exactly how I feel. Okay, I gotta buy that gin. Did I even ask how much? No, because it connected with me. The digital literacy of today's tourism industry, it's not where it should be. It could be better. It could be more engaging. And it's all because we basically moved from a brochure to a website in less than, 5 years, pretty much, even less than 10, so to speak. When did you join? Let's say, when did you open your company website? Let's say up to 10 years ago? Just roughly by raising your hands? 10 years? Website? No. 5 years? 5 years? Do you have a website? Just there. But so here's the thing. The digital literacy is something that nobody prepared you for. You were there with your ideas, with your business strategy, with your product, and then suddenly someone came along and said, hey, there's something called the internet. Are you on it? Oh, okay. And nobody really taught you how. But suddenly everybody pretends that you are on the internet, that you are on social media. You don't even know how. Did anybody teach you? Like a lot of the people that are preaching what to do and what not to do on social media, they are self-taught. They'll self-learn. Nobody really taught you what social media was. You just kind of work and try and then create your communities. But I'm happy that in this room we have such a high level of digital presence, because look at this. Last week, did you see in the news, we hit 8 billion people on the planet? Okay, so half of them are on social media. 4.7 social media users, to a point where we have 6 new users every second. To not just any social media, but let's say globally, we have more than 100 social media platforms. And here comes the overwhelm. Do I have to be on all of them? No. You have to be where your clients are. That's it. If your clients are on Facebook, you must be on Facebook. You don't need to be on TikTok if your clients are not on TikTok. Don't dilute yourself just because you have to be on social media. But be mindful that, look, 10 billions of hours of social media usage every day. People are constantly on their social platform. Why did I show you these slides here? Because when we produce content for social media, we tend to put one thing everywhere. One photo goes on Facebook, goes on Twitter, goes on Instagram, sometimes also on LinkedIn. But one size fits none. Why? Because social media user, I don't like to call them users, a bad word for me, but it's more of your client on social media. When they're on Instagram, they act in a way. When they're on Facebook, they act in another way. When they're on TikTok, they're even different. Why? Because the way the platform works makes them act differently. You gotta swipe, you have to tap, you have to swipe up, you have to swipe left, you have to swipe right. So different movements, different span of attention that is becoming shorter and shorter, right? People are on social media, 10 seconds, done, next. And you think of, how can I communicate about my brand in 10 seconds? But guess what? You don't have to. Because those you connect to, really connect to, are going to be there for much longer than 10 seconds. So if they're there only for 10 seconds, they probably are not your clients. When we create content for social media, I would like you to take a moment and reflect on each social purpose. People are on social media to do network, almost like what we did today. Imagine we've done this virtually on LinkedIn. We could have done this. This would have been a LinkedIn platform today, because everybody is connecting like this. There is media sharing. People are sharing images. People are sharing videos. For example, YouTube, Vimeo, so video platforms. Discussion forums where people just tend to kind of just voice their opinions. There are reviewers networks, for example, TripAdvisor, or wherever your clients put a review. Blogging, publishing, networking, blogs, articles, website where people go to read, for example, medium.com, and content curation, where people just seek beauty and perfection, like Pinterest, for example. So you see 6 different purposes in social media usage. Now think of the content you put out every day. Do you cover 6 purposes with one content? Unlikely. So always think about what is the purpose of that social network before you put out that content. If you go along with the purpose and the reason why that social network is used, you're more likely to connect to the person that is on that platform in that moment. So when is a social media audience becomes a brand ambassador and that person comes to you because he finds you on social media, he connects with you, it means that you've done social media right. How can the traveler of today find you? Big question. Online, word of mouth, magazine, printed media in many different ways. But the truth is that we work in the tourism industry and the travelers are there to use the online space to plan their next travel. So they dream, they plan, they book, and then they come and experience, okay? So think of these phases and think of what do you offer online to facilitate each of these phases. What do you put online that represents your brand or your product, describes your services in the dream phase? And what do you put online in the planning phase or in the booking phase, for example? So each phase needs a different type of content. Until, the book done, got the booking in, that person is going to become your clients, and your client is going to come and experience your product. Personally, I encourage you to focus on this additional 3 phases, which to me today represent a lot of the mindset in the travelers, the way they are, the way they act. Search, inspiration, and validation. Why? Because you can have the best website in the world, but if I don't see anyone else coming to you and sharing their experiences of Tampere on their social, I can't validate. I can't prove whether what you say is actually true because no one else is saying it. So search. Where are you when I search for you? Your Google ranking or your social media ranking. Personally, I, in many cases, search on social media instead of Google because the social media search will give me more opportunity to find things that inspire me and more opportunity to find things that I can validate through others people's opinion. So it's not just dream, plan, book, and experience, but in the middle of this, it's how people find you in the search, what kind of inspiration do you provide, and what kind of validation they can find of you, or your company. And in the workshops that I design for tourist boards, for entrepreneurs, particularly entrepreneurs, those that are, running the show and doing the business, and they don't have a big company, on their shoulders, but perhaps they are one-man show and that person needs to do everything. Are this step? This is where you are now. You're here, like you're at the beginning. Then you build your brand personality with who you are, what you do. Then you go into brand authorities. And after you build that authorities by positioning your digital presence, you then leverage on that credibility. Each step, it's not a reward. Each step is not a winning. These steps are intertwined. In fact, I put them as a staircase, but they could very likely be even just a circle of activities because you constantly work on them all the time to the point where you reach your brand advantage. Your brand advantage is when you are so clear about your about who you are, about your message, that you have that something that nobody else has. The human connection is what makes us come back to something after we've experienced it, right? So that's why people are seeking authentic experiences. Through authentic experience, I connect with the people. Now you look at this image, I found it on, I don't want to name the company, but I found it on a website where this was advertised as an authentic experience. At first it's a joyful image, but actually, do you really think that there is a woman dressed like that works the ground, that works the soil, that's farming dressed like that? Ask yourself, how authentic is this? Is it authentic, or is it staged for, with the best intention, but it's still staged for a visitor? My point here is to encourage you to look further, to look beyond what can be staged, because we take something that is authentic and we stereotype it into a stage performance. Tourists today, travelers today, are very quick at spotting stage performances. In fact, they don't want that. And situations like this are less and less important. The message I want to share with you is to go back and think of what you really think is an authentic experience. Review your current authentic experience and ask yourself, are these experiences staged for the visitors, or are they real? Are they real deal? Is it what, don't do this, because it's obviously a stage moment. The little that I've seen, and I hope to see more in the coming days, really showed me that there's much more about the people than is, about, everybody has shopping malls, everybody has theaters, but it's the people that you connect with that are going to make you come back. So if this is the human connection that you seek to put out, to highlight, put it forward, make sure that your next visitors to Tampere come back and talk about the people, talk about the real experiences, the real connections that they made here. You will see that percentage reversing in less than 5 years. But it all starts with you as tourism operators. Today, I would like all of you to have a copy of this presentation. I saw some of you taking some photos or so I'll be here after the presentation. And I'm happy to exchange contact details so that I can send you a copy. Thank you so much.